What's the real difference between just being nice and being truly mature? We often confuse the two. We think the nice person who always agrees, who never makes waves, is the peak of emotional development. But is avoiding conflict the same as resolving it? Is constant agreement a sign of wisdom or a sign of fear? The truth is, sometimes the most mature person in the room is the one willing to have a respectful disagreement. Often, true maturity isn't about avoiding friction at all. It's about navigating it with grace and intention. It's not about having a smooth ride, but about being a better driver. Most of the signs we look for are obvious, like being responsible or paying bills on time. But the genuine, deep-seated signs are much more subtle. They are quiet habits of the mind that completely change how a person experiences the world. These are the signs that separate someone who is simply aging from someone who is truly growing. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on 5 of those subtle, uncommon signs. And by the end, you'll not only be able to spot them, but you'll have a roadmap to start cultivating them in your own life. If you're watching this, you're likely someone who isn't satisfied with surface-level answers. You're part of a group of people who value deep personal growth and genuine self-awareness. And you've probably realized that the common ideas about maturity just don't capture the whole story. Maturity isn't about reaching a certain age. It's not about losing your sense of humor or being serious all the time. It isn't a destination you arrive at, but a way you choose to travel. The internet is full of lists of obvious traits, but today we're going deeper. We're moving beyond the cliches to uncover the psychological shifts that underpin real wisdom. We'll explore 5 subtle signs of true emotional maturity. And more importantly, for each sign, I'm going to give you one concrete, actionable practice you can start today. This isn't just a checklist, but a toolkit. And to make it even more practical, stick around to the end, because I'm going to give you a simple 3-step framework that ties all of these ideas together into one powerful daily practice. This is about replacing confusion about your own emotional responses with a confident path forward. But what truly separates the mature from the merely grown-up is a more subtle quality. And that brings us to our first sign, which might surprise you. The first subtle sign of a truly mature mind is this: they are deeply comfortable saying, "I don't know." Now, this is completely counterintuitive in a world that rewards the appearance of certainty. From a young age, we are taught that having the right answer is what gets you ahead. Not knowing is treated as a weakness, a failure. So we learn to fake it. We bluff, we posture, and we build a fragile ego around the idea of being the person with the answers. Maturity isn't having all the answers, but being comfortable with not knowing. An immature ego feels threatened by ignorance because it links its self-worth to being correct. A mature mind, however, has uncoupled its self-worth from being right. It has shifted its primary goal from protecting the ego to pursuing the truth. And you cannot genuinely pursue truth if you're pretending you've already found it. Think about a leader you admire. The insecure manager will feel pressure to have an immediate answer for everything, often making up policy on the spot or giving a vague, unhelpful response. They're trying to protect their status. The truly mature leader, however, has the confidence to pause and say, "That's a great question. I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I'm going to find out and get back to you." Which one inspires more trust? Which one creates a culture where it's safe to learn? Admitting ignorance opens the door to curiosity. And curiosity is the engine of all growth. I don't know. It means you're no longer performing. You're ready to learn. It shows a profound intellectual humility that is incredibly rare and powerful. This isn't about being clueless, but about being intellectually honest. It's the difference between a closed fist, tightly gripping what it thinks it knows, and an open hand, ready to receive new information. The person who can't say, "I don't know," is trapped. They can only ever be as smart as they are in this exact moment. The person who embraces "I don't know" has limitless potential for growth. They understand that the smartest people in any room are often the ones asking the most questions, not giving the most answers. This shift from certainty to curiosity is one of the most fundamental internal changes on the path to maturity. So what's the actionable step here? It's a micro practice you can do every day. Once a day, try to consciously turn a declarative statement into a question. For example, instead of saying, "Well, this is the way we should do it," try asking, "I wonder if this is the best way to do it." Or instead of assuming you know why someone did something, ask yourself, what are other possible reasons for their behavior? This simple habit slowly rewires your brain to favor curiosity over certainty. It creates a small space for humility to grow. Now, this internal shift from certainty to curiosity naturally changes how you interact with the world, and especially with other people, which leads directly to sign number 2. They choose peace over being right. An immature person enters a disagreement with the goal of winning. It becomes a battle of egos, a zero-sum game where one person must be right and the other must be wrong. This is because their sense of identity is tangled up in their opinions. If their opinion is defeated, they feel that they have been defeated. A mature person understands that in most human interactions, there's a more important choice to be made. You can choose to be right, or you can choose to be connected. This doesn't mean they become a doormat or that they don't have convictions. It means they have the wisdom to assess the stakes. They ask themselves, is winning this argument over a trivial fact or the correct way to load the dishwasher worth the cost to our relationship? 99% of the time, the answer is no. They practice a form of non-attachment to outcomes. Their goal isn't to score points, but to understand and be understood. They can state their perspective clearly and calmly, while also leaving space for another's truth. Think about the last disagreement you had. Was the goal to win or to understand? Often, we continue arguing long past the point of productivity simply because our ego has taken the driver's seat. Letting go of the need to be right feels like liberation. The action step here is a powerful, in-the-moment question. When you feel yourself digging in your heels in a disagreement, pause and ask yourself, is it more important for me to be right now, or for us to stay connected? This question instantly elevates your perspective from the battlefield to the balcony. It gives you the power to choose your response consciously. And this ability to see beyond your own ego also leads to the third sign. They genuinely celebrate the success of others. Have you ever shared good news with someone and felt them subtly deflate? Or maybe you felt that pang of envy yourself when a friend announces a major achievement. That's a product of the scarcity mindset, the unconscious belief that someone else's win is somehow your loss. It's the idea that success, happiness, or opportunity is a finite pie, and if they get a slice, there's less for you. True maturity involves a profound shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. A mature person understands that another person's light doesn't dim their own. In fact, they know that collective success and shared joy make the world brighter for everyone. They see a friend's success not as a benchmark against which they are failing, but as a source of inspiration and proof of what's possible. They don't just offer a quick congrats. They ask detailed questions. They want to know how it felt, what the challenges were, what the other person is most proud of. Their joy is authentic because it's not threatened. Active celebration. The next time a friend or colleague shares good news, don't just like the post. Send them a message or ask them in person. "That's amazing! Tell me everything. What are you most excited about?" By actively engaging with their joy, you not only strengthen your relationship, but you also train your own brain to experience their win as a shared victory. We've talked about internal humility and relational generosity. But the next sign of maturity is about our relationship with something we constantly try to avoid: boredom. The fourth sign is this: they can embrace boredom. In our world of infinite content and constant stimulation, the ability to simply be without distraction is a legitimate superpower. Most of us are terrified of empty moments. The second we find ourselves waiting in line, sitting in a waiting room, or having a moment alone, our hand instinctively reaches for our phone. We are desperate for a hit of dopamine, a distraction from the discomfort of our own thoughts. This is not a moral failing. Our brains have been actively trained by technology to crave this. However, a mature person has cultivated the capacity to resist this urge. They understand that boredom is not a void to be filled, but a space to be explored. They are not dependent on external stimulation for their sense of well-being. Psychologists find that it's in these moments of apparent boredom, when our minds are free to wander, that some of our best thinking happens. This is the gateway to creativity, self-reflection, and problem-solving. When you are constantly consuming content, you have no time to connect with yourself. You don't get to check in and ask, "How am I really feeling? What's on my mind? What problem am I chewing on?" Embracing boredom is a declaration of independence. I am enough entertainment for myself. It demonstrates a well-regulated nervous system, one that doesn't need to be constantly soothed by external input. It's the ability to just sit, to just be, and to find that the world inside is just as interesting as the world outside. It's a quiet rebellion against the attention economy. The person who can sit peacefully on a park bench without a device is often having a richer internal experience than the person frantically scrolling through 100 different lives. They are present in their own life. The fear of boredom is really a fear of being alone with ourselves. Overcoming it is a sign that you are comfortable in your own company. And that is a cornerstone of emotional maturity. What does this look like in practice? The action is simple, but not easy. Schedule 5 minutes of doing nothing into your day. Find a comfortable chair, put your phone in another room, and just sit. You don't have to meditate or follow your breath. Just sit and observe. Observe the room. Observe the sounds. Observe your own thoughts as they come and go. It will feel uncomfortable at first, but stick with it. You are building your muscle for presence. By the way, if these insights are resonating with you, and you're the kind of person who is committed to this journey of understanding yourself better, consider subscribing to the channel. We're building a community of curious minds, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. It's a simple, free way to continue feeding your growth. So we've talked about the internal, the relational, and the perceptual shifts. But how does this all translate into action in the heat of the moment? That's our fifth and final sign, and it's arguably the most important of all. Sign number 5. They respond rather than react. An immature mind is like a pinball, reacting to everything. A critical comment, a traffic jam, or a piece of bad news is an event that acts like a flipper, sending the mind careening in a new chaotic direction. A mature mind is the player, choosing its response. This concept is beautifully captured by the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. He said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Maturity is the quiet space between a feeling and an action. A reaction is instinctual, immediate, and often driven by the most primitive parts of our brain, the amygdala. It's the defensive snap when you feel criticized. It's the surge of road rage when someone cuts you off. It's the immediate lashing out when your feelings are hurt. A response, on the other hand, is conscious and considered. It acknowledges the feeling, whether it's anger, fear, or hurt, but it doesn't let that feeling dictate the action. It engages the higher functioning parts of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, to make a choice aligned with one's values. Let's use the example of receiving critical feedback at work. The reaction is to get defensive, to make excuses, to invalidate the feedback. "You don't understand the context," or "That's not fair." "I am under attack." The response is to pause, breathe, and separate the information from the emotion. It's to say, "Thank you for sharing that with me. Let me think about that." This doesn't mean you have to agree with the criticism, but it gives you the power to evaluate it from a place of calm strength rather than panic defense. This single skill changes everything. It transforms you from being a passenger in your emotional life to being the pilot. It's the difference between being a slave to your moods and being the master of your mindset. Every time you manage to create that tiny sliver of space, you are practicing maturity. What is the action step here? It's called the 3-breath rule. Before replying to any emotionally charged text, email, or comment, take 3 slow, deep breaths. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 6. This simple physiological act helps to calm your nervous system and disengage the fight or flight response. It's a physical way of creating that crucial mental space, allowing you to choose your words with intention, not impulse. We've covered 5 powerful signs and 5 actions you can take, but it can feel like a lot to remember in the heat of the moment. So, as promised, here's a simple 3-step framework that ties it all together. This is the operating system for practicing emotional maturity every day. It's called pause, question, choose. First, pause. This is the 3-breath rule from our last point, but applied to everything. When you feel a strong emotion, whether it's anger, envy, or anxiety, the first and most important step is to do nothing. Just create that space between stimulus and response. Second, question. In that pause, you ask a clarifying question to your higher self. This is where our other action steps come in. You might ask, am I trying to be right or to be connected? Or, what would happen if I admitted I don't know here? Or even, is this a moment to react or a moment to learn? This question directs your mind toward a more mature perspective. Finally, choose. Based on the answer to your question, you consciously choose a response. Not the easy, reactive response, but the one that aligns with the person you want to be. You choose curiosity over certainty. You choose connection over conflict. You choose a considered response over a knee-jerk reaction. Imagine the next time you feel that flash of anger or defensiveness rising up. What if, instead of letting it control you, you simply paused, questioned, and chose a different path? You don't have to do it perfectly. Just start with one small moment a day. So let's bring it all together. The 5 subtle signs of true emotional maturity are not about what you have, but how you think. They are comfortable saying, "I don't know." They choose peace over being right. They genuinely celebrate the success of others. They can embrace boredom. And 5, they respond rather than react. In the beginning, we asked, what's the real difference between being nice and being mature? Now we have our answer. Being nice is often about managing other people's external reactions. Being mature is about mastering your own internal world. It's not about avoiding conflict. It's about choosing connection over ego and understanding over winning. Remember, you don't just arrive at maturity. You practice it every single day in 1,000 tiny moments of choice. This journey isn't measured in years, but in those moments where you successfully create a space between a feeling and an action. Your growth is found in the pause. If this video gave you a new insight or a tool you can use, please consider subscribing for more insights into mastering your mind and living a more intentional life. We put out new videos every week designed to help you on your growth journey. Thank you for watching and for choosing to grow today.